Right, let's get this party started. Hello everyone, this is Steele with Studio Blue. How are you doing this evening? If you are joining us for the first time, this is a continuation of a previous tutorial that we were doing yesterday morning. So I'm continuing it. This is the Parallax mapping large map, large forest. This is based on Fallen Lorelei's large forest, except we're doing a couple of changes. This is more of a defined critical path, and this is a dungeon for Studio Blue's project Rosenhearts. So anyway, if you were there with us last session, you saw that we basically did this section right here. And that's fine and dandy because I went ahead and finished these sections here since then, and the reason for that is it was just me laying down trees. It was just me laying down lots of trees, and that would be very boring and very tedious, and I didn't want to subject you guys to that. So all I did was come over here into these other 4 areas and lay down the trees and create the critical path. And let's talk about that for a moment. This is the starting dungeon of the game. Therefore, the critical path has been very well defined. It's very linear in many ways and is not highly exploratory. There's some room for exploration, but as you can see, the player will come here, have a choice to go around here to dodge monsters, come up here. There'll be an area to come up here or come up here, and then when they reach this area, there will be a little area here. Come right around, there's a little area here. Come right around. Little area here, little area here, and so forth. So we've got little areas for them to go off to the side, little optional paths. So that way there is some measure of exploration, even though this is a quasi-linear dungeon. Again, this is the first dungeon of the game, so we want to reward the player for exploration, but at the same time we want to give them a direct path to go on to get through the opening parts of the story. We are going to have more open and less linear dungeons as the game goes on. Anyway, the purpose of tonight's broadcast is that I'm going to complete this area here. Then I am going to show you how to take a large map and bring it into RPG Maker. Now, a quick word here. I am actually running on my large rig because the broadcasting works a lot better on it. This is not the rig that carries RPG Maker. So, excuse me. At the end of the video, at the end of the broadcast, I am going to stream RPG Maker through Steam and show you guys how to do the last bit. But I'm not actually going to go into the game test because RPG Maker does not stream very well. The play test doesn't stream very well at all. And I don't want to lock the broadcast up and stop everyone else in their tracks and glitch the system out just to do that. So what will happen is I'll bring you guys right to the point where we would press the playtest button, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. And then I'll post pictures of what the final result looks like on Studio Blue's Facebook, Studio Blue's Twitter, etc. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. A little thing before we zoom in here. As you can see, we have each of the areas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we have layers based off of those areas. So we can actually go ahead and if we wanted to hide each of the areas, that way if we wanted to concentrate real granular detail on 1 or 2 areas, we could. And here we go ahead and we're going to go to area 6. I'm going to go ahead and expand it. Then I'm going to take this and get close, zoom right on in. Okay. Now one thing you can notice here is that there are already elements here. There's already trees, vines, etc. That's because what I did is as I completed each area, I brought one of each element into the next area, and that just makes things real easy on me. Feel free to follow with whatever methodology you want to, but I find that that works really well. Excuse me. By the way, if during the broadcast you have any questions, I do have YouTube live chat open on my laptop next to me, or if you're through Facebook, you can contact me through Facebook Messenger, or if you're on Twitter, you can tweet me. I have my phone next to me, and just feel free to let me know any questions you have. I'll be sure to answer them, and let's get started. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do before to start defining the critical path is I'm going to want to kind of move these elements out of the way, because I'm about to get real busy with laying down some serious trees. There we go. So we're going to leave those there for right now. Now, as you can see, and this is going off of what we had in the last broadcast, we have 2 deciduous trees and 1 conifer. That's to kind of break things up. By doing this, I didn't really have to recolor these trees like Fallen Lorelei does in her tutorial on big parallax mapping. If we wanted to, and this was a brighter forest, I still might color some of these trees, but in the long run, this works fine. The aesthetic looks just good. So let's take a look and kind of plan ahead mentally. All the player has to do is come up this way. So if I wanted to, I could block off this area and force them to go around. But that is literally no fun and looks very cheap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the path right here, and then I'm going to open up an area here for the player to explore and be rewarded for exploration. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of lay down a tree line here and here, and of course here, so that the player can't actually exit out of the forest. So we're going to start over here, and we'll place the tree right here. But even though this is kind of in the way, we're going to deal with that in a minute. I'm going to pick up this tree and move it over here. I'm going to pick up this tree and move it over here, and I'm going to move it up 1. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and copy and lay that guy right there. Okay, so now that we have those trees here, we're going to go ahead and start laying the trees here and build around the side. So Control J. Now, as you notice, all of this is on a previous layer, so this requires just a little bit of fancy footwork and a couple of points of cutting. So I'm going to lay that one here. And if you watch this, by laying that there, you'll never know that there was a bit of an overlap. Let's lay down a conifer right here. We're going to move that deciduous in front of the conifer, and then we'll move that one up 1 more. There we go. So I've gone ahead and I've merged these 2 areas, and the way the player's eye will work, they'll never even realize that these were 2 separate layers. I do want to deal with this area here while I'm thinking about it, otherwise it may slip my mind and I don't want to mess that up. So we just take this here, select that particular tree, which I believe is this one. Yes. And we just delete. So we've trimmed the tree, literally. Okay, let's go back. All right. So let's go ahead and select the movement key here, and we're going to continue to build our tree line for the forest. And all I'm doing at this point is just moving the different trees around and figuring out which one goes where. There we go. Move that back. The good part is you don't really have to keep track of things once you start moving them around. Unless you do something like that. Actually, that looks kind of good. Now we'll leave it like that. And I'm going to create a shallow tree line, not very deep, because what I want to do is I want to give as much area here open for exploration by the player as possible. It's not going to be a maze. There's not going to be a lot of twists and turns, but we want it to look elegant and at the same time open enough for the player to feel that there is a path for them to follow other than the critical path. Okay, so I'm just going to keep laying down trees. Excuse me. Ooh, my allergies have been acting up all week. All right, here we go. I'm just bringing over one tree at a time. There we go. Now I'm going to start kind of curving it up because a right angle would look absolutely ridiculous. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let's bring that in more. And we will bring this one over the conifer. That one there. Let's see, we want to have sort of a slope like that. So let's add another deciduous. Go, add another conifer. We want this conifer to poke behind. There we go. Save. Bring that conifer down, that deciduous down. Okay, now we want to start building up, and I'm going to be doing a lot of moving up and then moving the layers because you really should always try to build down whenever possible. I didn't do that, so more's the fool on me. All right, let's see. Oh, do I have a question? Nope, no question, okay. But if you're joining us, welcome. Thank you for coming, thank you for watching. All right, let's move on. Where was I? There I am. Okay, so we'll go there. Move that down, down, down. There we go. Move the conifer. Ooh, that one took a while. There we go. Okay, so hopefully these will be a little easier to place now since they're all kind of right around each other. There we go. Let's put that one over here so it's not quite as, yeah, we want to have that be as staggered as possible. There we go. And we'll grab that one right there. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, that's fine. When we reach up here, I'm going to probably bring the trees in just a little bit. I would have liked to have had this open a little bit more. I don't know. Let's see what it's like when we get there. Let's bring that out some. use one from down here. Here we go. There we go. Okay. This needs to be brought down some. There we go. Now I haven't seen one of these in a while, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that over here. So I think I've been just replicating tree number 2 and tree number 3, and we don't want to do that. There we go. Okay, so we have our retinue of trees now. Yeah, I'm going to have to make a little bit of a sacrifice here. Yeah, not exactly what I wanted to do, but it'll work. Yeah, it'll work. So this tree line here is real straight, which kind of looks a bit unnatural. I mean, if you look in comparison, we have more organic tree lines throughout the entire forest. But I think it's forgivable because it's just staggered enough. And this area here is very obviously an area open for exploration. And I'm talking myself out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add just a little bit more tree just to make it look a little bit more natural and a little less contrived. A little less fake. There we go. So the treasure chest will be right there. Let's check the grid and make sure that we can do that. Oh yeah, we got room. Okay. So we have room. We can have the treasure chest there, which is what the reward for exploration will be. But at the same time, this looks more natural, and I'm not going to be freaking out over how fake it looks. Excuse me. Alright, so now we're going to start working on the interior here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sway of trees right here so that the player can see the critical path. And I'm just going to use these right here because these will never touch these. So I can just, no need to go grabbing all over the place. I want to start off with, what do I want to start off with? I think I'll start off with this one. No, I'm going to start off with this one. It's a nice thick one. Okay, and we're going to bring this down, and I'm sort of creating again, a base of trees to work off of, a sort of block of trees that I can go, okay, here's the trees I'm going to use for the construction of this part of the forest. Okay, now we're going to start working on our swath. There we go. Make it a little tighter. Oops. There we go. Okay, so I could bring it all the way over here, but as it is, this is going to start looking real fake real fast, so I'm going to bring some trees here and kind of bring them in more. In fact, what I'll probably do is bring some trees in here and then that way this is just an extra area to explore. So let's do that. Start with a conifer. Put the conifer here. Put that deciduous there. This deciduous there, and we're just going to keep on and I'm just going to keep on building and building and building until they're here. So I got to also decide, do I want to have this be winding or do I want it to be open? And as I stated in the last broadcast, the one we did yesterday, I want areas to be open as much as possible. The reason being is in this game, enemies are visible on the map instead of it just being a walk around and hit random encounters. And because the enemies are visible on the map, you want to have some bit of an open area for the player to dodge the enemies. So while it would be kind of nice to have it come wander in here and come over there and come over here and have a sense of actually exploring into the back areas, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to have this open area here. Then they can sneak past the enemy or not and get to that treasure chest right there. That's perfect. I think that'll do it. No, nope. I'm gonna move that one just a little bit there. Show some bark. And then we gotta move that one behind it. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. So that way the player can come here, go this way, or can come this way. And if we want to be a little sneaky, just a little, we can close this off just a little bit more so it feels like it's a secluded part of the forest. So let's do that. There we go. And we're going to make sure this, they'll probably be able to walk behind there, but we're going to make sure by looking at the grid, yeah, so they can walk behind here and get into this area. Fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to start adding the detail. Not the final detail, we're going to do that on the entire map, but we're going to start adding in little bits of detail here, and that's basically bushes, logs, and rocks. So we're going to go ahead and bring these over here. And there's, well, I'll move the guide. Oops. Don't want to do that. Alright, so there's not there is not a need for a ton of these. These do get in the way of the actor. They do get in the way of the player. The most that I would do is I might consider adding some up here. This is a different part of the map, but I want to go ahead and finish this first. And then I'll go up and see if there's anything else I need to add anywhere else. So let's go ahead and put on the grid. because we want to be able to see, because these can block the player and we don't want to block the player completely. Like for example, putting it there would just be absolutely the dumbest thing, because they'd never be able to reach the treasure chest. But you could put it here, give them something to walk around, or you could put it here and give it something that kind of blocks them a little bit. Not really, because they can walk here or here or here or here. So it doesn't really block them. You're not stopping them, but at the same time you're giving them a sense of an obstacle in the way. This, I think right there would be good. And I'm going to put this one right there. And I'm going to move that bush behind that bush. Okay, so here's my rationale for doing this. This is a little miniature obstacle course that the player has to go around, and there's going to be an enemy in here to dodge. So they're going to be moving around here. There'll be an enemy moving around, trying to sense them using Mog Hunter's event sensor. And the player is going to have to move around here and dodge the enemy, and it gives them a bit of a challenge. It's not just, hey, the enemy's over here, I'm over here, I'm going to move this way and completely dodge the enemy. This way, if the enemy is here, for example, the player has to come around here and maneuver around these obstacles. If I wanted to be really malicious, I would select these two, duplicate them, and put them down here. And that way there's even more of an obstacle course. In fact, I'm actually going to do that. I'm not going to be mean about it though, so I'm going to get rid of this one. Select. I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to put it, I think right there is perfect. So now, let's go ahead and remove the grid. So now it looks like even more of an obstacle course. Ooh, I want to move that up now. Hold on. See, these are the little things when you're doing these. You kind of get ideas, ways that they'll look even better when you kind of take a step back and look at the whole thing. And you'll see me do that at the end of this. Okay, so there we go. So now the player comes in through here and has a little bit of an obstacle course to dodge. Nothing severe, nothing crazy, definitely nothing that's a maze or anything like that. And there'll be an enemy here that's going to be moving around. So if they want to avoid combat, they're going to have to use the obstacles and distance from the enemy in order to get by them. And they're going to come up here and get the reward right there. So this is not required. They don't have to do this in order to complete this part of the dungeon. All they have to do is just come across the bridge and just go right up here into this area. But they get a reward for exploration, which is what optional paths are. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at this area up here. I worked on it earlier today and I'm not quite happy with it, and I think I know why. I want to add some more bushes right here to kind of fill this out, but I'm not going to add too many because I don't want the bushes to get in the way of the player moving through here to the exit. So I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to collapse area 6 and I'm going to lock it so I don't accidentally do something. I'm going to unlock area 5 and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, what do? I hit area 5. Oh Lord. Alright, there we go. I'm going to copy, bring that up, copy, bring it up, and flip it, and I'm going to copy this one again, flip it, and I'm going to do that one more time. Okay, and since this looks a little fake, I'm going to add about 4 or 5 of these to kind of round it out. Okay, I lied. Adding a few more than that. But we want it to look good. Yeah, that'll work. Just something that looks a little bit more like a bush that's coming along this area. We could probably add one more here. And then zoom in and cut it. There we go. Now we're going to add another log or another rock. What am I going to add? Need to have a little something there. Log or rock? Why not both? Have a log rock there. And where's a log? There's a log. Let's see. Yeah, the player can come here or go here. And just because I hate a lot of blank space, I'm going to put a rock right there. Okay, there we go. So now we are going to hide the grid, select the magnification tool, click fit screen, and look at it all. There is our forest with the critical and optional paths. And we are not done. Not at all. We have to add in some final detail. The big problem here is that the forest is too green. And I know that sounds ridiculous because it's a forest, but you don't want to have something so saturated in one color that that's all they see. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a significant amount of brown, and we're going to do that with a tool called the stamp tool. You may have seen this if you've followed either Echoes or Fallen Loreleis or Will the Unpro Pro, or many different people who do parallax mapping tutorials. This is pretty common actually. The stamp tool allows you to take a pattern and turn it into a brush. So earlier today I went ahead and I grabbed the stamp tool and I filled it with, and I'm just going to show you here by creating a brief layer, which we will call dirt. And as you can see, I did that. So I'm going to actually do this right. What I did is I created the dirt layer. I'm going to have it be on top of the green adjustment. And I'm going to increase the brush size significantly. Let's bring it up to 56, that's fine. And I'm going to start painting certain areas. Now don't worry, it's not going to look like this when we're finished. And that's not going to work out, and I'll tell you why. We need to have a little bit more softness. Experiment with the brush, experiment with the stamp, get it looking exactly the way you want it to. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so once you have it in, start painting certain areas, and just think of it like patches of dirt that exist in reality, you know, out in the wild. There's not dirt everywhere. Try to have some rhyme or reason. Maybe the dirt's around. Watch your edges, but don't have to be too exact. And you don't want everything to be one giant globule. You want to have it be kind of staggered around a bit. If you want to actually make a path, this would be the tool to make an actual path. Now, in case you're wondering what I am doing, I'm going to show you how it's going to look at the end, and then I'll go back to painting. What we're going to do at the very end, once we painted the whole map, is we're going to go to brightness, contrast. We're going to darken it like we've darkened everything else, and then we're going to lower the opacity down to about 60%. No, a little more than that. There we go. About 45%. So it'll create sort of that. And then we're going to take the eraser tool. I think that's the eraser. Yeah, and we're going to erase the parts where it doesn't work. So like if that doesn't work here, we're going to erase that. I'm not actually doing it, I'm just showing you what's going to happen. So we're going to go ahead and back out. Go back to the stamp tool. And continue painting. It's okay to go underneath the trees here. Don't always go up and down. Players will be able to tell. Don't always go in circles. Mix it up. Dare to go in the tree line. The whole idea is you are building a believable looking set. So we're going to stop for here because I could literally spend the next hour painting. I just did these two sections and that's enough for what we're doing. So let's go ahead and go to image, brightness contrast, -63. If you recall, that's what I wrote down in my notebook as being the setting that we're using for the brightness for the Black Forest. I went ahead and I recorded that ahead of time, figured out exactly what it needed to be. Okay, we'll make that 46. Now we're going to go to the eraser. Where are you, eraser? There you are. Make that a nice big tool. Nope, that's not big. That's not big either. That's big. And we're going to go ahead, any place where it just doesn't look good, we're going to go ahead and kind of carve it out a little bit. A little bit here. Like that. Like that. Don't like that little tongue right there. That's too round. I like how that spills a little bit on there. I'm going to add a little bit more. There we go. Erase off of that. Erase off of that. And we're going to pull that off some. There we go. Let's go ahead and merge these two areas together here. And this is why you do everything while it's opaque. See how that came out? That's not good. Yeah, it'll be fine. There you go. I'm a stickler for. I'll probably go back and just redo this after the tutorial is over because I'm just showing y'all how to do one section at a time. And we're just doing section 1 to completion. So I'll go back and repair all this. But I just want to give you guys a general idea. Like for example, this looks completely fake, like a mudslide. So there we go. So again, not perfect, but we're just doing this for the sake of showing you guys how to complete it. I will go back and spend probably about another 45 minutes to an hour working just on this, just to make the dirt look just fine. So for now, we're going to leave it, but understand when I post those final pictures later tonight, tomorrow, you're going to see an extensive difference between what we're showing here and what's going to be showing in the finished product. And that's just because this right here is something that's quickly hurried through in order to give you all an example when I'm going to take my time and really work on making the dirt look good. So moving on, we're going to do something else now. We're going to create another layer, and we're going to call this layer Ground Shadows. And I am going to select paint, make it black, select my paintbrush, choose a nice large paintbrush, and now I'm going to start painting the shadows on the ground. And try to be even. I really need a Wacom tablet. Now, I cannot stress how important this is to get this just right. And again, I'm only going to go for a little bit here. Uh, Lighting can make or break a map, even in something like RPG Maker. Good lighting will make a map look fantastic. Bad lighting will make the best map look like crap. So I'm going to spend a little extra time on here for this first section just to show you how to make good shadows, but the most important thing is to figure out where your light source is coming from. I'm going to figure I have a light source coming here. So all of this is going to be as if it's coming from this direction. Gotta know where your light source is coming from. And yes, I am going to be erasing and deleting. And no, I'm not going to make any operations on the layer until I'm completely finished. Do you want to come through? Go through each one of these areas. Go through each part and paint where the light source is coming from. And I messed up here, so I'm going to end up deleting that. In fact, let me do that now because that's going to drive me crazy. There we go. The reason I did that is if the light source is coming here, it's not going to catch. In fact, let me go ahead and delete it all and I'll rebuild it and show you. Understanding the way light works really helps. So if you've ever done any 3D design, you'll have a leg up over other people. If you have any questions about how light rays work, I suggest you go to like Udemy or Coursera and sign up for a 3D animation course. It will significantly help your understanding of light. And once you understand light, creating shadows in something like RPG Maker will be easy. So you got to think, so the light's coming here, so it's going to cast a bit of a shadow here and a bit of a shadow here, but not here because the light's moving along this plane. A little bit here, just a little bit there, just a hair from this one right here. Just a little bit of light. Just a little bit of shadow. Okay, nothing here. Nothing here, maybe a little bit right there. Nothing there, nothing there, a little bit here. A little bit here. Here. And then all along this tree line here. Because the reason there's shadows here is because there's light coming in from this direction. And there's trees. We can imagine there's trees in this area here. And then we'll have it here. Excuse me. Okay, so now we're going to take the eraser tool and we're going to erase the places where, oh, I almost forgot a very important shadow right here. Because this right here is casting a shadow right down there. So now we're going to take the eraser, we're going to kind of carve a little bit. Any place where the shadows are too pronounced or in the wrong direction, we're going to carve those. And I'm not worried about here. There would be shadows right here, but we're just doing the first section tonight. Okay, let's put some there. All right, this will work. Yeah. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the opacity to about, let's try 60%. And that's not 60%. That is me mistyping. There goes 60%. Nope. Let's try bringing it down to 40. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, so now we have our shadows. And you can continue carving if you want to. Like right here. Oop. Click the shadow layer right here. A little bit there. There we go. And you can work on this for a lot of time, and I actually recommend you do. I've said it before, it bears repeating. It is in your best interest to spend as much time as possible on light and shadows. Now, if I was going to not use a fog effect, I'm using a fog effect for this map. If I wasn't, I would actually create a separate set of shadows, which would be the sky shadows. And that would be, let me show you very briefly how I would do that. I would create a layer here, call it sky beams, and I would paint the layer black. Where is the paint tool? The fill tool, paint bucket, oh here it is. And then I would use the polygon tool correctly and would start creating beams of light. And these would actually radiate throughout the entire map. And then I would select here, go to select, modify feather, and I choose a feathering of like 20. Delete. So we have our light beams here, and then I would take the entire sky shadows and bring them to about 40. So that way I would actually have light beams going across the entire forest. And you would use the light layer in the overlay plugin in order to accomplish that. But I'm actually going to have a fog effect, and what I've noticed is when I work with the fog effect as well as lighting, it actually makes the map too dark to see the detail properly. So one, it inhibits the experience, and two, it actually detracts the player from finding things and seeing things on the map, such as enemies and treasure chests. It really works against you to have both lighting effects and fog. That's not realistic in the real world. You do have light coming in through fog. You have these beautiful God rays coming through where the fog is being ripped apart by the light, and you have these gorgeous effects. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, but doing it in a 2D engine, it just doesn't work well. So it's better to choose between one or the other, and for the Black Forest, because it's a rainstorm, I choose the fog and storm effect. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this gorgeous layer. Sorry. Bye-bye. Done. and I'm going to leave this as is. Excuse me. So we are done for now. Now understand, again, I've spent a lot of time on the shadows. I spent longer on the dirt. Everything looks really good. I'm very happy with how it all looks. I don't want to edit anything else. I'm ready to bring into RPG Maker. So now let's take a look at the whole map. So now we have 6 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections, which are areas which will be their own individual maps. And again, this is taking the play right out of Fallen Lorelei's big forest mapping tutorial. In fact, I think mine is actually the same size as hers. But what we're going to do is we're going to chop this up into into 1200 by 960 size maps, 6 of them. And we're only going to do it for the first section right here, and then I'm going to pull it into RPG Maker, and then that'll be it for the broadcast, and I will do the rest off camera and then show you guys what the finished product looks afterwards. So let's go ahead, and the way that we're going to do this is through something called canvas size, but first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this under a different file name because I'm about to start chopping this up. So we'll call this Black Forest South Area 1. And we're going to go to Image, Canvas Size, and we're going to change this to 1200 by 960. And this is the most painful thing you're ever going to do because you're going to see a whole bunch of your work disappear. Oh, God, that hurt. But you know that you're doing all right because it's going to turn out looking really good. And at this point, you can hide the guides because you're not going to need them anymore. But you are going to need the grid. So View, turn off guides, View, Show Grid. Now, if anyone has parallaxed map, they know the next part of the process is going to be creating the overlay layer. Now, I have all these other layers on here, and they're not actually gone. They've just been clipped off. If you want to get rid of them completely, you would go ahead and select all, Image, Crop, and that gets rid of everything that's not on within the marquee. So if you open up these, you'll see that these are just filled with empty, useless layers. This isn't going to affect anything other than the size of your file, but even that has dropped. So now, I'm making sure that's area 1. Whew, I get so nervous. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to hide the ground layer. And we are going to start marqueing the areas that the player is going to walk on. I'm sorry, walk underneath. And I'm actually going to, for the moment, I'm going to keep the ground visible so I can use that as a guideline, and then I'm going to hide it right before I copy the merged to create the overlay layer. So let's see, we're going to say the player is going to walk behind. Oh, is my snap on? 1 second, people. Oh, there we go. Snap was not on. That was almost a disaster. So I'm going to say here. Here. Actually here as well. I'm going to go here. Here. Zilch to the bushes. Can't really walk behind that area here. But they can walk here. Whew. That looks terrible. They can walk here. In fact, they can walk here too. Are you sure snap is on? Lord. Alright, well, snap should be on. Do one more. There we go. Okay, they can walk here. They can walk here. And they can walk there. We go. They can walk behind that. Okay. They can absolutely walk behind here. We're going to have to use the lasso tool in a minute, and that's okay. Okay. Turn off snap. Or snap. So now we're going to carve out where the conifer is. There we go. We're going to add in this part right there. Okay, there we go. Let's make sure there's no other areas that the player can walk behind. They can definitely walk here. Oops, I turned snap back on. Okay, so now that we've selected the areas that the character can walk behind, we're going to hide base. We're going to, because that hides the shadows and everything else, we're going to go to Edit, Copy Merged, then we're going to go to Place, Paste Special, Paste in Place, and we're going to call that Overlay. If I hide everything, there's my overlay layer. So we're going to hide everything except the overlay layer. We're going to save as, and we're going to save it as a PNG with the exclamation point. Black Forest South Area 1. Going to save it. Oh, actually we want to go through the, we want to take this extra step and go export for web. Here we go. Yeah, export as nope, export as PNG. There we go. PNG with transparency. We're going with all the layers. We're going to export it as Black Forest South Area 1. And we're going to go ahead and have the overlays. And since we're using Cow's overlay, Ultimate Overlay plugin, we're going to use the actual parameter. We're going to use the actual parameter. We're going to use the actual map ID. So now we're going to open up Steam and we're going to stream RPG Maker. Fun times. Streaming RPG Maker is like waiting for something bad to happen. Let's come back over here. Give it a second to load up. There we go. And this map number is map number 11. So we're going to have, with just the overlay layer selected, we're going to go to Export As, Export All. We're going to call it PAR 11. Now I'm going to move these over to the other computer that's currently streaming. My apologies if that's a little backwards. I'm going to cut those and move those over to the Parallax. There we go. Okay, so now we have our large map, and we're going to change the size of our large map excuse me, to fit the size of our small map, which is going to be 25 by 20, because 1200 by 960 in Photoshop equates to 25 by 20 in RPG Maker. It's on a 1:48 ratio. So we're going to close this. We're going to change this to edit and hope that it comes up. There it is. All right. Black Forest South, Black Forest South. Change to 25 by 20. And we're going to choose Black Forest South Area 1 as the Parallax background. And we're going to put PAR parameter in there. And we're going to hope it doesn't freeze, because goodness knows streaming is never fun. And it looks like it did freeze, so isn't that great? I'm going to come back over to my computer. All right, there we are. I'm going to see if it's up. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and take this tile, and that's the transparent tile, and we're going to use the box. There we go. And we're going to save. So here is where we're going to do the last bit, which is the region restriction. This is using Ganfly's region restrictions. I have set them all to be region 1 for move all, which is pretty much what every Parallax mapping plugin tells you to do. And we're just going to add in the areas where you can move. Oh, so slow. Yeah, this is the painful part of streaming through Steam. I do not plan on doing this. Teal and I are going to set up a different way of doing this so that when we do these broadcasts, they won't be dependent upon streaming technology, because RPG Maker does not stream at all. Well, it streams, but it streams very slowly. Oops. So don't worry, future broadcasts, Teal and I do have a plan. We're just going to have to work on that so that we can give you all the best possible experience without breaking. I think that's enough for now. I mean, you get the idea. If you've ever parallax mapped before, you know what to do. If not, what I basically would do is I would fill in the areas that the player can actually walk with ones. I would do that over here, and over here, and I would keep doing that until the ones filled every part of the map that the player would be able to walk, whether it's walking in front of or behind the sprites. And then the way the parallax mapping works is that the layer that you saved with the exclamation point is what they're walking on, while the PIR layer is what they can walk behind, and it creates an effect of moving behind something, as if you were building the tile set with the star layer on it. Same concept, except what you've done is you've used a set of images instead of using tiles. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move back to my rig for now and back to Photoshop. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Actually, no, I'm not going to leave it because we're going into the outro. That is pretty much it. What you would do after that is you would repeat that process of clipping for every single one of the sections. You would do it for sections 2 through 6. And this is after you've done the dirt, after you've done the shadows, after everything looks absolutely perfect. You would go in there and you would clip using canvas resize. Then you would create your overlay layers, and then after you created your overlay layers, you would import them into RPG Maker. And the last thing, and I'll go back to RPG Maker and show you this. We're going to go back over here, and here is the last thing that I would do after all the region restrictions are done. I've tested the map, I can walk on the map, is I would add my little events right here, my little player touch events set below the player to teleport me to the next map, and I would do that for each of the maps. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. It'll probably take me about another 2, maybe 2.5, 3 hours to get everything perfect before I start uploading screenshots. But I want to thank everybody for watching me tonight. I want to thank everyone who's been a part of this, and thank everyone who watches this after the streaming is over with. If you liked what you saw, lay the smack down on that like button below. Subscribe to our channel. We try to do updates at least a couple of times a week. Every Sunday, Teal and I do a Let's Play First Impression on an RPG Maker game, and we give honest and constructive criticism and feedback on how the game works and what can be done to make the game better. And we do this from both a writing, storytelling perspective as well as a gameplay, mechanical, and design perspective. That is because Teal and I are both professional writers as well as game designers. So if you have any questions about our tutorials, have any questions about our live streams, if there's something you want us to do, anything you want to see us do, either shoot me a message through the RPG Maker web forum, shoot me a message through Facebook, through Twitter, or here in the comments sections below on YouTube. We love to hear back from people. Feedback is the lifeblood of any developer. And y'all have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much.